Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Dana Scranton, and welcome to 8 Minute Wisdom. Today's topic in this episode is your life, your plan, and your journey. The journey of entrepreneurship is not necessarily an easy one, but it is your journey. The key here is to have the journey mapped out with a plan that is truly of your design and of your execution. All too often, people get into the entrepreneurial game because somebody else told them to, or somebody else has convinced them that this is their vocation, their route, and they should do this and they should do that, and sign here, and it's really easy, buy this system, buy that system. And by the time all of that is said and done, the individual has lost sight of why entrepreneurship has any value at all. Instead, they're looking at how can they make money in the next 24 hours or the next week or the next month. They have forgotten all about what entrepreneurship is. So they buy into a system, they buy into somebody else's ideas, somebody else's way of doing things, and they ultimately end up struggling. Now, I'm not saying this is a universal truth, but it's what I have seen most often. When people buy into the dreams of others, the methods of others, or the motives of others, very oftentimes they do so by sacrificing who they are and what they truly want to do. So the first thing you have to realize is it's your life. You came in and you will leave, and in between, it's your life. You get to make the decisions. The more you advocate your decisions to others, the slower you will go. And perhaps you'll never go backwards, but you couldn't stagnate or move at an incredibly slow pace, such that you end up in a direction far from where you want to be. Momentum is critical. I liken it to somebody in a rowboat out on a very large lake. They have two oars. If the water is calm and the winds are calm, they can stroke the oars, they can go in a straight line, and they can go as fast as they can pull those oars. But if a wind comes up, it's very difficult if you don't have a destination in mind to stay on track. If all you do is you start pulling the oars without working one against the other to keep going in a certain direction, well, you end up getting blown off course. But the same thing can happen, excuse me, can happen no matter what you do if a strong enough wind comes along. So what's that got to do with entrepreneurship? Don't let the winds of somebody else's storm blow you off course. Okay, there are people who have an agenda, but their life is a storm. And you become part of that storm and you get blown off course. What happens if you lose an oar in a windstorm? You either go in a circle or you end up on a rocky shore somewhere. It is your life, it is your plan, it is your boat. Don't let somebody else tell you how to run your life, where to go, what plan you should write. Take the advice of those who have gone before you. Use their experience as a resource. Study the practices of others, the success of others. Take what you learn and overlay it on who you are or who you want to be. But be careful. Don't be somebody or try to be somebody who isn't really you. Don't try to be a celebrity like a movie star or a sports celebrity. Don't try to be them. Be yourself, because that is where the journey really is. Your life, your plan, your journey. In the end, you will be very glad you did that, because then everything you do, every success that you have is yours. Every failure, every lesson that's learned from failure, the growth that comes from failure, all that is yours. You don't want to put yourself in a position to blame somebody else for what's happened to you. You can take responsibility for allowing somebody to push you in that direction, but don't blame them, because you had the decision. It was your decision. It's your life, your plan, your journey. This is very important in the modern paradigm of this 21st century. There's too much information hitting us all at the same time, much of which is propaganda. Propaganda meaning designed to alter your thoughts and feelings in a way that is in sync with somebody else's agenda. And it becomes very difficult to understand what that is. But when you know who you want to be, why you want to be that person, where you're going, and how much money you want at the end of that trail or along the way, then you can lay out a plan and pay attention only to those things that are going to lead you where you want to go. Now, in the next episode, I'm going to go back and talk about experiences. You as an entrepreneur, as an individual, as a human, have a very important task. When I talk about a plan, okay, many people sit down and they look at a Pareto plan, a chart, and they say, okay, on Monday I do this, on Tuesday I do that, Thursday I do this, and they've got this to-do list. That's cool. But what is the plan? What is the objective? What are the means by which you will achieve that objective? And what are the actions that must be taken in order to get there? Oftentimes, we put those actions into a very mechanical model. Pick up the phone, call somebody, ask, get a yes, get a no. That's very mechanical. But in the next episode, I'm going to talk about a different viewpoint, a different mind game that you can play as an entrepreneur. But regardless, you are the architect of your life. You are the designer of the means by which you will move forward and succeed, because then your happiness, your fulfillment is all about what you were able to do using the resources that are available to you, which, by the way, is other people, leaders, people who have written biographies, autobiographies that are absolutely resonating with who you are, where you're going, and so forth. So do keep that in mind. It's a philosophy that has been around a long time, right? There's songs written about this. My Way is one of the keys, from the old Frank Sinatra days, written by Neil Sedaka. Keep in mind, it is a journey that at the very end, you're going to stand on the hill and you're going to look back and say, I did that. That is hugely important, very important, because what you have done in that journey is you have brought gifts to the world, and gifts beyond where you can imagine. So that's today's episode and the deep philosophy about your life, your plan, and your journey. So you get out there on that frontier of possibilities, that frontier of entrepreneurship where things happen, and go make it happen. Sit around that table with all the other entrepreneurs, but keep in mind, it's your game and your play. Okay, we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.